First contact's miscalculation. Grand Admiral Silaris stood motionless on the command deck of the Eternal Dominion, flagship of the Silurian Empire's 7th Conquest Fleet. Her 4 eyes, upper pair silver, lower pair obsidian, gazed impassively at the holographic projection of the blue-green planet rotating slowly before her. Earth, the latest target in the Empire's 5-millennium expansion. Preliminary assessment complete, Admiral, announced Strategic Overseer Vextal, his translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent data streams as he interfaced with the ship's central intelligence. Native dominant species shows concerning anomalies, but poses no significant military threat. Celeris's upper eyes narrowed. Elaborate. They call themselves humans. Carbon-based bipeds with surprisingly robust physiology, despite lacking redundant organs or exoskeletal protection. Vextal's digits flicked through scrolling data. They've achieved rudimentary spaceflight, but remain primarily confined to their planetary surface. Most concerning is their environmental adaptation range. Explain, Celeris demanded. Her interest piqued. They evolved on what our classification system identifies as a Class 9 Deathworld. Their planet features extreme temperature variations, crushing gravity by our standards, atmospheric toxins, omnipresent microbiological threats, and multiple apex predator species. Yet these humans not only survive but dominate. Celeris waved a dismissive hand, her chitinous armor plates shifting with the movement. Many species adapt to hostile environments, Overseer. Yet they fall before superior technology and tactics. 17 worlds have learned this lesson. Earth shall be the 18th. As you say, Admiral. However, protocol suggests detailed observation before commitment of forces. Celeris suppressed her irritation. The Silurian Empire had not become the dominant power in 3 spiral arms by rushing blindly into conflict. Deploy observation drones. Focus on population centers and military installations. I want comprehensive data within 1 planetary rotation. At once, Admiral. The command deck hummed with activity as cloaked observation units were dispatched. Celeris returned to her private chamber, where strategic simulations already predicted a swift victory. The humans' primitive projectile weapons and limited energy technology would be no match for Silurian graviton disruptors and phase shields. Yet something nagged at her consciousness, an instinct honed through centuries of warfare. She accessed the preliminary findings personally, reviewing the humans' brief but violent history. Their tendency toward intraspecies conflict had resulted in rapid weapons development. Concerning, but not unprecedented. 12 hours later, as Celeris reviewed invasion plans with her command staff, Vextal requested immediate audience. Report, she said, noting the unusual disruption pattern in his bioluminescence. Admiral, one of our deep wilderness observation units has captured footage you must witness. He transferred the data to the central display. The hologram showed a heavily forested mountain region. A solitary human male moved through dense undergrowth, carrying minimal equipment. His actions seemed purposeful but relaxed. Explain the significance, Celeris demanded. This human is in what they call the Alaskan wilderness. He is alone, over 80 kilometers from the nearest settlement. Our biological scans indicate he is deliberately traversing a region inhabited by multiple apex predator species. Celeris frowned. Is he armed? Minimally, a small blade and what appears to be a chemical deterrent. No energy weapons. For what purpose, Wold? Celeris fell silent as the scene unfolded. From the tree line emerged a massive quadrupedal creature, rising to its hind legs as it detected the human. The biological database identified it as Ursus arctos horribilis, a brown bear weighing approximately 680 kilograms, with claws capable of disemboweling prey in a single swipe. The command deck fell silent, every Silurian expecting to witness the human's swift demise. Instead, they watched in stunned disbelief. The human didn't flee. He stood his ground, making himself appear larger while producing loud vocalized warnings. The bear hesitated, then charged. The human deployed his chemical deterrent with precision, causing the bear to falter momentarily. When the enraged predator attacked again, the human executed a well-practiced evasive maneuver. What followed defied Silurian comprehension. The human, outweighed by nearly 700 kilograms, engaged in direct physical combat with the bear. His movements were precise, leveraging the creature's momentum against it. When the bear lunged again, the human drove his blade into a precisely targeted vulnerability beneath the creature's jaw. The bear collapsed. The human, breathing heavily but remarkably uninjured, checked the bear's condition, applied some kind of medical treatment to its wound, and then calmly retreated, leaving the stunned predator to recover. "Impossible," whispered Sub-Commander Lyrics, breaking protocol with his outburst. The strength differential alone. Vextel's bioluminescence had shifted to data emergency patterns. "Admiral, simultaneous reports are coming in from other observation units. In the region called Australia, humans casually coexist with 16 of the 20 most venomous species in the charted galaxy. In Siberia, they voluntarily expose themselves to temperatures that would kill a Xylorian in minutes. In their oceans, they swim with predators for recreation." Celeris stared at the frozen image of the lone human standing over the subdued bear. "Overseer, connect me with Imperial High Command. We require a full reassessment." "Admiral," Vextel questioned, sensing her uncharacteristic hesitation. "We have conquered 17 worlds, Overseer, and none of them produced a species that fights apex predators for recreation." She turned to face her command staff. "Revise our classification. Earth is not a simple conquest target. It's the homeworld of a species that evolved in conditions we can barely survive. And they consider those conditions normal." Hours later, after reviewing thousands of observation reports, Celeris stood before the High Command holographic projection, the 13 Silurian elders waiting for her assessment. "Grand Admiral," spoke Elder Corzin, "your request for reassessment is unprecedented. The 7th Fleet has never delayed an authorized conquest. Elders, I submit that standard conquest protocols are inappropriate for this world." Celeris stated firmly. "The dominant species, humans, possess physical and psychological attributes that demand caution." "Explain," commanded the Elder. "Humans evolved on a world that would kill most spacefaring species within days. Their musculature, bone density, reaction speed, and neurological processing were forged by millions of years of surviving predators that would be considered bioweapons on most worlds. Their immune systems constantly battle microscopic threats that would cause planetary quarantines elsewhere." She transmitted the bear encounter footage. The Council viewed it in silence. "More concerning than their physical capabilities," Celeris continued, "is their psychology. They routinely undertake high-risk activities without apparent necessity. They explore deadly environments voluntarily. They deliberately seek out challenges that any rational species would avoid." Elder Corzin's expression revealed nothing. "You believe they would resist effectively." "I believe, Elder, that standard projections significantly underestimate human combat potential. They lack our technology, but they possess qualities we cannot easily counter. Their history reveals that when threatened, they rapidly develop new weapons and tactics. They adapt to battlefield conditions with remarkable speed." "What do you propose, Admiral?" Celeris had prepared for this question carefully. "A diplomatic approach. Observation suggests humans are capable of alliance as well as warfare. They might prove more valuable as partners than as subjects." The council chambers fell silent as the elders communicated through their neural network. Finally, Elder Corzin spoke. "Your assessment is noted, Grand Admiral. Continue observation. We will dispatch a diplomatic contingent to replace your conquest fleet." As the transmission ended, Celeris turned back to the viewport, watching the blue-green planet rotate slowly beneath them. For the first time in her centuries-long military career, She felt something unfamiliar, respect for a potential adversary. "Overseer," she said quietly to Vextal, "continue monitoring. I want to understand these humans better." "Of course, Admiral. May I ask a question?" "Proceed." "Had the Council rejected your assessment and ordered immediate invasion, what would you have predicted as the outcome?" Celeris considered carefully before answering. The Silurian Empire would eventually prevail through superior numbers and technology. But the cost? She paused, watching another observation feed of humans performing a rescue operation during what appeared to be a natural disaster. The cost would have been unprecedented. A species that faces death so readily is not conquered easily. Beneath them, unaware of how close they had come to interstellar war, humanity continued its daily existence, fighting, surviving, exploring, and thriving on a world that the galaxy's dominant empire classified as uninhabitable. And for the first time in 5,000 years of expansion, the Silurian Empire chose caution over conquest. The unexpected alliance. 3 standard months had passed since Grand Admiral Celeris had made the unprecedented decision to recommend diplomatic contact rather than conquest. The Eternal Dominion maintained its position in high orbit above Earth's moon, cloaked from human detection systems. Observation continued unabated, with thousands of surveillance drones gathering data on human behavior, capabilities, and social structures. Celeris studied the latest compilation report in her private chamber, fascinated despite herself. The humans continued to surprise her. "Admiral," Vextal's voice came through the communication system. "The diplomatic vessel Harmonious Exchange has arrived in system. Elder Diplomat Zavek requests your presence for briefing." "Acknowledge." Celeris rose, her armor adjusting automatically to her movement. The diplomatic approach was proceeding according to protocol, but something felt wrong. Her military instincts, honed across 12 major campaigns, were signaling danger. As she made her way to the command deck, emergency alerts suddenly blared throughout the ship. The deck beneath her feet vibrated with unexpected energy discharges. "Report," she demanded, entering the command center. "Massive graviton disturbance detected at the system's edge," announced the sensor chief. "Pattern matches Kraxar signatures." Celeris felt her blood cool. The Kraxar horde, savage warriors who had resisted Silurian expansion for centuries. If they had tracked the Silurian fleet to this system. Full alert. Deploy the fleet in defensive formation Lambda 6. Protect the diplomatic vessel at all costs. Her orders were executed instantly as tactical displays showed a dozen Kraxar warships entering the system. "They've detected us, Admiral," reported Vextal. "Their trajectory suggests they're preparing to attack." Celeris assessed the situation rapidly. The 7th Fleet was formidable, but the Kraxar had brought significant firepower. More concerning was their position. The battle would inevitably take place in close proximity to Earth. "The humans will detect this conflict," she realized aloud. "Their observation capabilities are primitive, but sufficient to notice weapon discharges of this magnitude." "Admiral," the communication officer interrupted. "The diplomatic vessel is hailing us. Elder Zavek wishes to speak with you." The holographic projection of Elder Zavek appeared, tall, regal, his chromatophores displaying formal diplomatic patterns. "Admiral Celeris, this development is most unfortunate. The Kraxar must have followed our diplomatic vessel, hoping to disrupt any potential alliance." "We will defend your ship, Elder," Celeris assured him. "However, I must inform you that this conflict will almost certainly reveal our presence to the humans." "Then perhaps," the Elder replied thoughtfully, "this is the moment for first contact." Before Celeris could respond, Vextal interrupted urgently. "Admiral, the Kraxar have launched attack vessels, and their trajectory indicates Earth itself is the target." Celeris understood immediately. "They're not here for us. They're going to attack the humans to prevent any possible alliance." Her mind raced through options. Intercept those vessels. Priority Alpha. The Silurian fleet moved with practiced precision, But 3 Kraxar attack ships slipped through the defensive net, descending rapidly toward Earth's atmosphere. "They're targeting major population centers," reported the tactical officer. "New York, Beijing, and Moscow." Celeris made her decision instantly. "Open communication channels on all human broadcast frequencies. We need to warn them." The command deck fell silent. In 5 millennia of Xylorian history, no admiral had ever initiated first contact during combat operations. "Channel open, Admiral." Celeris drew herself to full height. "Attention, people of Earth. I am Grand Admiral Celeris of the Xylorian Empire. Your world is under attack by a hostile alien force called the Kraxar. We have been observing your planet and are acting to defend you. This is not a deception. I repeat, this is not a deception. 3 attack vessels are approaching your major cities. Take defensive measures immediately." She switched to tactical channels. "Deploy atmosphere-capable interceptors. Neutralize those attack ships before they reach the surface." The Xylorian defensive squadrons raced to intercept, but 1 Kraxar vessel broke through, heading directly for the landmass humans called North America. On Earth, chaos erupted as Celeris's message was received. Military installations worldwide went to maximum alert. In the Pentagon, General Michael Reeves stared at the radar showing an unidentified object descending at impossible speed toward Washington, D.C. "Get me the president," he ordered, then turned to his staff. "If this is first contact, it's a hell of a way to do it. Launch interceptors." 12 F-35s scrambled from Andrews Air Force Base, equipped with the latest experimental weapons. They formed up to engage the descending alien craft. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Celeris watched the human response with surprise. "They're organized a defense in minutes," she noted. "Their reaction time is remarkable." The human fighter jets engaged the Kraxar vessel, firing missiles that the alien shields easily deflected. But the humans adapted quickly, changing tactics, using their superior numbers to coordinate attacks from multiple vectors. "Admiral," Vextol reported with astonishment, "the humans are causing shield fluctuations in the Kraxar ship. They've identified vulnerability patterns." "How is that possible?" Celeris demanded. "Their weapons are primitive. They're modulating their attack frequencies. Each strike tests a different approach. It's improvisation." The Kraxar vessel, distracted by the unexpectedly effective human defense, failed to detect the approaching Xylorian interceptors. Caught between 2 adversaries, its shields collapsed under combined fire. The ship plummeted, crashing into an uninhabited area outside the human capital. Meanwhile, Xylorian forces had successfully neutralized the other Kraxar vessels. The main battle continued beyond Earth's orbit, but the immediate threat to the planet had been contained. "Admiral," the communications officer called, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. They're requesting direct communication." Celeris straightened her posture. On screen, the holographic display showed a human female in formal attire, flanked by military officers. "This is President Elena Chen of the United States of America, representing Earth's response to your communication." "Who am I addressing?" "I am Grand Admiral Celeris of the Xylorian Empire's 7th Fleet. With me is Elder Diplomat Savik. We regret that first contact has occurred under these circumstances." President Chen's expression remained composed despite the historic moment. "You said you've been observing us. For how long?" 3 of your months, intensively. We came to your system with different intentions, but upon observing your species, we reconsidered our approach." Understanding flickered across the president's face. "You were planning to invade." Celeris appreciated the human's directness. "Initially, yes. Your world was designated for incorporation into the Empire. However, our observations led us to reassess. We determined that diplomatic contact would be more beneficial for both our civilizations." One of the military officers whispered something to President Chen, who nodded. "Our forces have secured the crash site of the alien vessel. We have survivors in custody." This news surprised Celeris. The Kraxar were notorious for fighting to the death rather than surrendering. Madam President, I must warn you. The Kraxar are extremely dangerous, even when injured. So we've discovered, Chen replied grimly. They've already killed 3 of our soldiers who were attempting to provide medical assistance. Elder Tsavek stepped forward. President Chen, the Kraxar horde represents a significant threat to both our peoples. Their arrival in your system is most concerning. They may have been pursuing our diplomatic vessel, but their attack on your population center suggests broader intentions. Which brings us to an important question, Chen responded. What happens now? Celeris exchanged glances with Elder Tsavek, who nodded slightly. We propose an immediate alliance against the Kraxar threat, followed by diplomatic discussions regarding long-term relations between our civilizations. And if we decline, we will continue to defend your world from the current Kraxar incursion out of strategic necessity, then depart your system. However, I must emphasize that once the Kraxar have identified a potential target, they rarely abandon their interest. President Chen conferred briefly with her advisors. We need to coordinate with other world leaders, but in principle, I'm authorized to accept your assistance against this immediate threat. A wise decision. Elder Tsavek commented. Admiral Celeris will coordinate military operations with your defense forces. I suggest establishing a secure communication channel. As technical details were arranged, Celeris received an urgent update from the main battle. Madam President, Elder, we have a developing situation. The Kraxar fleet is deploying a dimensional resonance weapon aimed at your planet's tectonic stability. In simple terms, Chen asked sharply, they intend to trigger catastrophic earthquakes across your Pacific seaboard, Celeris explained. Our fleet can intercept, but we'll need to coordinate with your ground forces regarding the Kraxar survivors. They may be attempting to establish a ground-based targeting beacon. What followed was unprecedented in Silurian military history. A joint operation between their advanced fleet and the comparatively primitive but remarkably adaptive human military forces. Within hours, a coordination center had been established in a facility humans called NORAD, with quantum communication links to the Eternal Dominion. General Reeves worked directly with Silurian tactical officers, combining Earth's extensive satellite network with alien sensor technology. Meanwhile, specialized human units located and neutralized the Kraxar targeting beacons with unexpected efficiency. They're using their knowledge of their own planet's terrain to outmaneuver technologically superior forces. Vextal observed with fascination as they watched human special forces teams engage Kraxar survivors in various environments. More than that, Celeris replied. They're adapting to alien physiology and technology almost instinctively. Each engagement improves their effectiveness. In orbit, the main battle reached its climax as the Silurian fleet encircled the remaining Kraxar vessels. Without their ground beacons, the dimensional resonance weapon failed, and the horde ships began a fighting retreat. 3 days after first contact, President Chen stood in the White House Situation Room, facing the holographic projections of Admiral Celeris and Elder Tsavek. Representatives from 20 other nations were present, either physically or via secure connections. The immediate threat has been neutralized, Celeris reported. The Kraxar fleet has retreated beyond your system's heliopause. We've established monitoring stations to warn of any return. On behalf of humanity, we thank you for your assistance. Chen responded formally. We've prepared a preliminary diplomatic response to your proposal for ongoing relations. Elder Tsavek's chromatophores shifted to patterns of mild surprise as he received the document. This is most thorough for a species with no prior interstellar diplomatic experience. We've had considerable practice negotiating among ourselves, replied the British Prime Minister dryly. Indeed. The elder studied the document further. You propose a mutual defense agreement, technological exchange program, and cultural missions, but explicitly reject any form of political integration or subordination to the Empire. That's correct, Chen confirmed. We're interested in peaceful cooperation and alliance, but Earth will remain independent. Celeris noted the unmistakable steel in the human leader's voice. Under normal circumstances, such terms from a pre-FTL civilization would be dismissed as presumptuous. But these circumstances were far from normal. Your terms are acceptable as a starting framework, Elder Zavek announced after conferring privately with his delegation. The Empire recognizes Earth as a sovereign power and potential ally rather than a subject world. Later, as the Eternal Dominion prepared to escort the diplomatic vessel back to Silurian space to formalize the treaty, Vextol joined Celeris on the observation deck. "A most unusual conclusion to our mission," he commented. "3 months ago, we arrived as conquerors. Now we depart as allies." Celeris watched the blue-green planet rotating below. What would have happened, do you think, had we proceeded with the original invasion plan? Vextol's bioluminescence pulsed thoughtfully. "Based on what we've observed of human adaptability and determination, I believe we would have eventually prevailed through superior technology and numbers. But, Celeris prompted. "But we would have learned why no other spacefaring species has evolved on a Class 9 Deathworld," he finished quietly. "The humans would have made us pay in blood for every centimeter of their world." Celeris nodded slowly. "And now instead, we face the Kraxar, with humanity fighting alongside us rather than against us." She turned from the viewport. "The universe has become a more interesting place, Overseer." As the Tylorian vessels accelerated out of Earth orbit, humanity began its preparations to join the interstellar community, not as conquered subjects, but as equals. The species that had evolved fighting bears had found its place among the stars.